And we're kicking off with AEW, and in the days preceding Dynamite, AEW announced that Sting would have something to say on this week's show, which led many to think of just one word: retirement. While the icon can still go in the ring, Sting has spoken in the past about knowing when it's time to hang up his boots, and that'll happen next year. Sting started his Dynamite promo by being nostalgic and paid homage to the likes of Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair, the latter of whom Sting credits with putting him on the map. The Stinger also brought up Hulk Hogan's name, as the two feuded in WCW, but the mere mention of the controversial Hulkster received a ton of boos from the fans. To a chorus of thank you Sting chants, the icon said his 2015 retirement in WWE didn't sit right with him, and he is pleased to have had an incredible career revival in AEW. Sting said that since his first match in AEW happened at Revolution 2021, it's fitting that his final match will be at Revolution 2024, a show that is traditionally held in March every year. There's no word on who Sting will face, but given his incredible career, expect a fitting send-off for the icon when he laces up his boots one last time. Dynamite saw Wardlow face Ryan Nemeth, and all it took was one powerbomb before the ref called off the match as Nemeth couldn't continue. When Tony Schiavone tried to interview Wardlow, the former TNT champion pointed to his wrist tape with MJF written on and walked away, pushing Schiavone down as he left. After a break, Don Callis, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Konosuke Takeshita arrived, and Callis spoke about Chris Jericho before turning his attention to Kenny Omega. Kyle Fletcher ran down to the ring and said that he accepted the match with Omega as a favor to Will Ospreay, but didn't want any of the family showing up when he fought the Cleaner. Fletcher also spoke about folks being a jerk to him when he was younger, which at this point feels like a supervillain origin story that every heel wrestler seems to be going through. Callis agreed to the terms and shook Fletcher's hand before he joined the commentary team to watch the bout, and Omega made his way to the ring. Fletcher almost showed some babyface signs in the pre-match segment, but that was wiped away when he attacked Omega before the bell to gain the early advantage. Omega gave Fletcher a lot in this match by selling all his offense and letting Fletcher dictate the pace, adding further credibility to Fletcher, who has been a standout performer in recent months. A fantastic back and forth ended with Omega scoring the pin with the one-winged angel, and on commentary, Don Callis immediately went from praising Fletcher to insulting the defeated star. The fact that Callis turned so quickly on Fletcher could be another sign of a face turn, and whatever comes, expect much more of the 24-year-old star. At Crown Jewel, Seth Rollins will defend his World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre, which comes amid speculation of a McIntyre heel turn. WWE have been teasing just that in recent weeks, with McIntyre himself teasing bringing back Broken Dreams at Crown Jewel, but will next month mark the beginning of the end? Recently, WWE updated their cover banner, which features the likes of Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, LA Knight, Becky Lynch, and others, but McIntyre was conspicuous by his absence. Around 24 superstars across all three brands were shown, making McIntyre's absence all the more interesting, leaving fans believing that Drew will be leaving Riyadh empty-handed next month. Not only that, but some believe that this banner is a sign that Drew is wrapping up his time with WWE, but that may not be the case at all. Instead, Wade Keller of PW Torch reports that Sami Zayn will interfere at Crown Jewel, either causing a DQ or deliberately costing McIntyre the match, kicking off a feud between the two. McIntyre recently pointed out that Sami has never won a WWE World title and added that he never will, so it makes sense that these two will be part of a major feud going forward. Although there are some news outlets that claim that McIntyre has signed a new deal with WWE, that has not been confirmed, but it is known that he and WWE are on good terms right now. Additionally, it's important to note that other notable names like Asuka, Bayley, Sheamus, The Miz, Carlito, Tommaso Ciampa, and Chad Gable are also missing from this updated banner. Drew McIntyre may not be on WWE's new banner, but that shouldn't be taken as a sign of his exit, but instead expect to see plenty of him on TV in a feud with Sami Zayn. After the star-studded October 10th NXT drew 921,000 viewers, fans were expecting a drop with this week's show, but the October 17th episode did score an impressive number. The show did a respectable 798,000 viewers, still far more than AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday, as the Gold brand continues to attract viewers every Tuesday night. For some time, we've been reporting on Tony Khan's meltdown on social media after WWE NXT demolished AEW in the Tuesday Night War. Now, Chris Jericho has chimed in on his current boss's social media game, as when speaking to The Messenger, Jericho said that Khan is showing typical billionaire behavior. I learned years ago that bosses are going to be bosses and billionaires are going to be billionaires. I've been working for billionaires for 25 years. At this point, you can't control Tony Khan. He's going to do what he wants to do, and God bless him, he created this company, he runs this company, he also grew up in the social media era. I'm not going to tell him, take your phone away, because he's my boss. Say what you want. Whatever. I think it'd be worse if I said that stuff because I'm not the boss, you know? Tony Khan owns AEW. He can do what he wants. I'm not going to tell him no. It's interesting that this is being seen as typical billionaire behavior, as Khan took aim at Vince McMahon in one of his tweets referencing last year's scandal. We can't help but think that Jericho would have a far different response if McMahon was acting this way against AEW, but as far as Y2J is concerned, Khan's behavior is hardly unusual for a billionaire. More from Dynamite, which kicked off with Penta El Cero Miedo facing Jay White, but Alex Abrahantes, who was with Penta, was vastly outnumbered by Bullet Club Gold at ringside. Penta took out Juice Robinson and the Guns with a huge dive over the rope before starting the match with a flying double stomp and quick 2 count on the Switchblade. Taz explained that the ref wanted both men in the ring before he called for the bell, instead of starting the match when they were fighting at ringside, as we've seen in the past. Some promotions make sure both wrestlers can stand before the match begins, but not AEW, which often allows for exciting starts, but begs the question, why doesn't everyone just attack their opponent during their entrance for an early advantage? Once White recovered, he slowed the pace down and took the low road with some underhanded tactics on multiple occasions, including tying Penta's mask to the ring rope in a great heel move. Penta and White are no stranger to Match of the Year candidates, so it's no surprise that this match was excellent, even if the finish, which saw BCG interfere, was a bit cliché. Having Bullet Club Gold interfere in every match has established them as a top heel group alongside the Don Callis family, but it does get repetitive, while clean wins make them seem more dangerous. This match was a lot of fun and White's win was the right call, but the finish was obvious even before the match had begun. Lance Archer made his AEW TV return for the first time in 3 months this week, after last being seen challenging AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy at Battle of the Belts. After being outsmarted and losing via countout on that occasion, Archer went at full force this week, even dragging his opponent Barrett Brown to the ring for their match. Brown tried to rally back, but his momentum was cut as Archer stopped him in his tracks and dominated before finishing him off with the blackout. Perhaps this could be the formal launch of a singles run for Archer in AEW, as despite his best efforts, the Murder Hawk Monster has yet to hold gold in the company. A rematch with Cassidy doesn't seem like an impossibility at this time, and what do you expect for Archer now that he's back in AEW? Let us know in the comments section below. Dynamite also saw a teacher versus student matchup as Emi Sakura faced her one-time protege and current AEW Women's World Champion, Hikaru Shida. While Sakura has been featured more in AEW and ROH lately, this match went to Shida in a match that unsurprisingly delivered, considering how well the pair know each other. The main event of Dynamite was the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal for a shot at MJF's Dynamite Diamond Ring, with standout performances from the likes of Juice Robinson and Max Caster. Other names involved include Jeff Hardy, Dustin Rhodes, and Daniel Garcia, and this Battle Royal saw the usual eliminations, albeit with one exception. Jeff Hardy's elimination saw him thrown out of the ring because Garcia's victory dance was interrupted and made the crowd boo. Hardy has been doing a great job with his gear and face paint recently and always stands out no matter who else is in the ring. In the end, only Garcia, Caster, and Robinson were left, and Garcia was the next one out, and Daddy Magic was there to rub it in his face. Garcia and Daddy Magic constantly fighting about Garcia's dancing is always funny, and always gets a reaction from the crowd. Juice Robinson secured the win by eliminating Caster, while Jay White was able to prevent MJF from retrieving the AEW World title that Bullet Club Gold has been holding hostage. This Battle Royal was fine, but on a show that included some really good matches, the main event of the show didn't stand out at all. The match featured a lot of tag team members, and it seems odd that AEW didn't use this match to push some singles talent further. One of the highlights had to be MJF not wanting either Juice Robinson or Max Caster to win, making for some pretty funny moments when these were the last two in the ring. So that was this week's Dynamite, and while the main event was the Battle Royal, 3 matches outshined what should have been the most significant match. White and Penta kicked off the show with an awesome performance, which was followed by Fletcher and Omega putting on a banger, while the Sakura Shida match was hard-hitting to say the least. AEW's strength has always been in delivering exciting in-ring competition, but the recent increased focus on characters and storylines has helped make the company better. Toni Storm, who was featured in another silent film during a commercial break, continues to shine, and the various feuds piling up for MJF has made his title reigns more compelling than a few months ago. This week's Dynamite had a lot to enjoy, but the 3 matches mentioned above are definitely the highlights. Since arriving in AEW, Adam Copeland has been an enemy of Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne, and now it looks like the Rated R superstar will have some backup of his own. Fightful Select reports that Copeland and FTR have jointly applied for the trademark Rated FTR, implying that the group will be an official team going forward. Copeland and FTR have a history prior to AEW, as it was Cash Wheeler who helped Copeland train for his in-ring return in 2020, so don't be surprised if Rated FTR become a regular thing on AEW TV. It was 2 weeks ago that Big Bill and Ricky Starks captured the AEW World Tag Team Championships on Collision, and now the champs will defend their gold on this week's show. On Dynamite, it was revealed that Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli will challenge for the gold this Saturday, as the Blackpool Combat Club wants to make Bill and Starks' title reign a short one. Last month, it was reported that Serena Deeb had heat within AEW as she and the company had a serious disagreement over how she was being used by the company. Deeb's comments about her position was said to be bordering on disrespectful to Tony Khan, who she accused of cutting time from her matches without telling her before she was already in the ring. In an update, Sean Ross Sapp reports that Deeb was backstage at last week's AEW Collision in her first time at an AEW event in close to a year. It was pointed out that the show wasn't anywhere near where she would have been just visiting, meaning Deeb and AEW have made sure that she was backstage at the event. Deeb's last match for AEW took place last year on an episode of AEW Dark, where she faced Hollywood Haley J, and is last week's Collision the start of her return to TV? Time will tell. More from AEW as next week we'll see the promotion come to Philadelphia, once the home of ECW, so it's fitting that an ECW original will be working at next week's tapings. On Dynamite, it was announced that RVD will be back in action on next week's Dynamite, and that he will be teaming with Hook against 2 opponents yet to be announced. It looks like competing in AEW will be a monthly affair for RVD, as this will be his second match for AEW in 2 months, with his previous match seeing him and Hook beat Cool Hand Edge and Daddy Magic. Rob Van Dam has proven time and again that he can still go in the ring, and expect a 5-star frog splash or 2 next week when the WWE Hall of Famer returns to Philly. We've got news from NXT now, as the Gold brand is often home to debuting talent, but one notable name was seemingly spotted in the crowd of this week's show. The wrestler in question is Miyu Yamashita, who fans may recognize from her time with AEW or for her ongoing work as part of Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. A woman wearing a black outfit and beige baseball cap was spotted behind Booker T at this week's show, and that was the exact outfit Yamashita was seen wearing earlier in the day. Not only did Yamashita wear that outfit, but judging by her social media, she was at Disneyland in Orlando, so was in the vicinity of the Performance Center, which is home to NXT each week. Yamashita is an incredibly gifted talent who continues to make a name for herself, and we have to wonder if she and Shawn Michaels talked business when she attended this week's NXT. When CJ Perry was cut from WWE in 2021, many expected the former Lana to start an OnlyFans page, following in the footsteps of many wrestlers who use the platform. While Perry does have her own website, an OnlyFans page is yet to become a reality for her, and now we have an idea why she's not logged on. Speaking with House of Wrestling, Perry explained that joining the platform would likely be a marriage ender for her and Miro. She said, "I am not on OnlyFans because my husband said I would get papers in the mail if I did it. This is the compromise. And also, I think, I can't say he likes it. I can't say he's fond of it by any means, but life is life, so there's that. It's always a catch-22 with him, and I have to remind myself on a daily basis that he's Bulgarian. He's not American. And so often, I forget, even though I lived over in Eastern Europe, and sometimes I just have to go over there, and I'll be there for a month, and I'm like, okay, I've become very Americanized, very westernized, very, like Kim Kardashian, independent woman." On AEW TV, Miro has spoken about his hot, flexible wife many times, and while Perry is on the hunt for clients to manage, don't expect to see her on OnlyFans anytime soon. When Rhea Ripley is in the ring, Mommy usually comes out on top, and that's once again proven to be the case with this year's PWI ranking of the top 250 female wrestlers. For the first time in her career, Ripley has reached number 1, besting Stardom's Julia, who took 2nd place, Bianca Belair in 3rd, and Jamie Hayter in 4th. This was the first year since 2013 that the 4 horsewomen didn't feature in the top 10, and fans aren't happy that Becky Lynch has dropped all the way down to 29th place. On Twitter, fans shared their outrage at this ranking, believing the man should be higher, and some questioned how Ronda Rousey, who is number 22, was ranked higher than her old nemesis. The PWI rankings often spark debate, and this year's no different. And what do you think of this year's ratings and the placement of Becky Lynch? Sound off in the comments. If reports are accurate, Randy Orton will be making his long-awaited return to WWE in time for Survivor Series next month, and the band behind his entrance theme are making it pretty obvious. On Twitter, Rev Theory shared an image with the word Orton Voices and added that the time is near, so fans can expect the Viper back in the ring soon enough. Since coming to AEW, MJF has established himself as a top star, and now the world champion has traded in his boots and title for Scales and Fangs as part of a new animated film. This week, the animated film Justice League and RWBY Superheroes and Huntsman Part 2 released on digital, and the film features AEW's favorite scumbag as DC Comics character Killer Croc. Croc does have a tie to wrestling, as prior to his days in a life of crime, Waylon Jones used the incredible strength and reptilian look caused by a genetic defect to become a sideshow wrestler. MJF will also have a live-action role as part of A24's The Iron Claw, which will detail the life and tragedies of the Von Erich family, as Hollywood can't get enough of the AEW World Champion. In 2016, Brie Bella stopped wrestling full-time and since then has only made a handful of in-ring appearances, the most recent being as part of the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble match. Now using her real name Brie Garcia, the WWE Hall of Famer appeared on Amanda Hirsch's Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast and said she would be more than willing to join her husband in AEW. Brie said that joining Bryan Danielson would be great for her and said that she'd be open to leaning into the more violent style of wrestling AEW has compared to WWE. Nikki, who was also on the show, added that she and Brie want one last run, ideally when their sons are old enough to watch the show, but that depends on whether Nikki's doctors allow it. Nikki Bella had to retire due to neck issues, but also competed in the 2022 Women's Rumble match, and would you like to see the pair return to the ring? Sound off in the comments. And we're ending with Tyson Fury, who appeared for WWE in 2019 and resurfaced for the promotion at Clash of the Castle last year in Wales. As a massive name in sports, WWE would likely love to work with Fury again, and when speaking to Sports Illustrated, the boxer said there are still opportunities for him in WWE's ring. I've been doing this for 15 years, which is a long time. I know it won't last forever, and it's true, I've had a few good stints in WWE. There's still a lot of opportunity there. Fury's one and only official match saw him get a count-out win over Braun Strowman at Crown Jewel 2019, but it may just be a matter of time before the boxing sensation competes for WWE again.